is ruining our global standing. I mean, I'm not surprised that the Iranian war or the war in Iran is ruining our global standings. There's literally nothing else that would. Oh, well, granted, we were already on rocky ground with most of our allies due to what's it called, tariffs. But with this decision to pull U.S. troops from Germany, he starts to draw forces from everywhere else in Europe and is downplaying of Iran's recent attacks on an important Gulf partner. Donald Trump's latest moves foreshadow that there could be a war-inducing legacy, the fraying ties of key allies, which is great. Me, as soon as I heard the voice sad face emoji, banned. That was a little bit more creative. It wasn't creative enough, though. In response, some traditional U.S. partners are starting to hedge their bets in maybe long-lasting changes to releases in Washington, while adversaries such as China and Russia are looking to exploit strategic openings. What's up, Heyo? Most analysts believe the erratic conduct since returning to office, essentially upending the rules-based global order, will further erode U.S. alliances, especially with NATO continuing to feel his ire for largely resisting his wartime demands. Yeah, dude. And the fact that people are not buying U.S. bonds at all right now, overseas, like no one's buying into U.S. currency. Japanese, man, the Japanese bonds are looking up. If you're invested in Japan, it's probably a good time for you. OMG, I love your OC. Thank you. Just June, hey, you're so cool. Thank you. But most analysis believe it's erratic. Yeah. Trump's recklessness with respect to Iran is resulting in some dramatic shifts. U.S. credibility is at stake. It's going to be rough. I think the U.S. is about to be the first world country to demote itself to second world. Like, genuinely, like, we are going to have to be a developing nation again, because what the fuck are we doing? Even before that, Trump had rattled the allies by imposing sweeping tariffs, pushing to take over Greenland from Denmark, and cutting military aid to Ukraine. The rift widened when Trump announced this week he was withdrawing 5,000 of the 3,600 troops in the U.S. had stationed in Germany after Chancellor Friedrich Merz angered him by saying publicly that the Iranians were humiliating the U.S. Pentagon. The Pentagon, then scrapped a planned deployment of Tomahawk cruise missiles to Germany. Yeah, dude, let's just anger all our allies. That's the smartest thing you can do in a political frenzy. Just like piss off all your allies, dude. It's a good chat. If you're a leader of a country, make sure you make all your allies as frustrated with you as possible. They'll really come to help you when you need it. After that. And it sucks because it's like, I don't even know if after Trump gets out of office at one point, if Democrats take back power, I couldn't see the U.S.'s allies going back to it because they know how fucking fragile our government is. Like, the second somebody who's stupider than a rock gets into office, it'd just be the same shit again. And they don't want to risk that. Why would they? Risking that would be completely moronic for them. They have to worry about their governments. Are you trans? Yeah. And then the fucking Iran negotiations slowed as Trump demands a deal. What's Fox and Friends saying this morning?
Have you heard from Iran?
They're giving a letter supposedly tonight, so we'll see how that goes.
Do you think they're slow rolling it? Do you think they're intentionally slow rolling the process?
We'll find out soon enough.
Wait, you can go into 3 times speed now?
Soon enough, says President Trump, telling reporters he expected a response from Iran last night on a proposed peace deal to end the war, and of course.
So for real, America suck. I'm gonna go back to my country, bro. What country is that? I'll tell you whether or not that's a good deal. Somebody last night at the bars was like, "Oh, I should go back to my home country," and then they told me their home country, and I'm like, No, you don't want to go back to your home country. I know the U.S. sucks, but that is not a place you want to go.
Regime's nuclear program.
It comes after U.S. forces say they launched defensive strikes against Iran after their ships were attacked in the Strait of Hormuz.
So, can we expect an update
Fuck
soon?
Trump.
We're
True, cherry bomb.
And former CENTCOM Communications Director Joe.
One Brazilian. Brazil is fine.
Really great news to hear that the president believes we may finally see a peace negotiation, some sort of settlement here between Iran and
It's too little too late, man. The damage is done. It's going to take at least a year probably half a year for anything to get back to somewhat of a normal like level of communications with the entire global market, and especially Iran. Iran's just never going to feel comfortable. Iran's never going to feel comfortable. Hold on. May I ask a question? Yeah, what's up? I think my shorts just arrived. Oh, no. Do you support more restricted access to HRT for adults? Yeah.
Country. Do you have an idea of why we haven't heard it yet at 7:30 a.m., or is that pretty normal? We'll get something maybe a little later in the morning.
No, I anticipate we'll get something back today, probably later in the morning, maybe mid-afternoon our time here in the U.S. But, you know, Iran is going to try to delay this as long as they can. And anything they come back with is going to be part of a delay tactic. So, you know, negotiations with Iran are notoriously very difficult. This is always a challenge to go back and forth with Iran. There's a lot of additional challenges and complexities right now because you're dealing with a fragmented leadership between the parliament,
Oh shit!
the
I didn't realize this
IRGC,
scrolled. I
and
was
the
just
mullahs.
listening.
We're not sure who the parliament is communicating with. We're not sure which of the mullahs are alive. And the Ayatollah is underground.
It doesn't matter which ones are alive. Why are we still... This is why I fucking hate Fox. Because it's like the most disingenuous shit constantly. But the reason why we watch it is there's a good reason for me to watch it. Because this is what Trump supporters and like your old geriatric-ass grandparents are watching. Hello, Cutie Patootie with the beautiful and comforting voice. Thank you, Voodoo. We get shot in the head, true. How do you decide top or bottom, or is it like a coin flip? I'm just a top. No, like, geriatric motherfuckers are watching this shit. Trump was in the hospital that one time, the good old days. It was a good day when Trump was in the hospital. It was a good day. No, because, like, these geriatric motherfuckers watch this shit, and this is how they believe the world is. They genuinely believe everything that comes out of, like, especially Fox and Friends, man. Fox and Friends is a tight fucking hold over U.S.
He's only communicating
morons.
through passing notes. So look, there's a lot of complexity here trying to get this done.
Well, and Joe, that complexity, it appears that you have basically the parliament speaker, Ghalibaf, and the foreign minister,
Mr.
Araghchi,
Beastburger,
that seem to
yeah,
want to
slammed
get
in.
to that negotiation table in good faith, potentially in Islamabad. But yet you have the IRGC commander right now, Ahmad Vahidi, who has a long history as the first commander of the Quds Force under Mojtaba Khamenei's father, Ali Khamenei, and he is apparently holding out. How do we get a progress in this if he remains holding things up?
Yeah, I mean, that's really one of the critical points here, Griff, is that, you know, you've got real hardliners that have assumed position and assumed power after we killed basically the first two rounds of leaders that we killed early on in this war, February 28th of this year. And, you know, a lot of the hardliners that took over survived the Iran-Iraq war and led forces in the Iran-Iraq war. And the UN brokered peace deal at the end of that war was very humiliating for Iran. And they remember that.
Right.
And they think about
Yeah, and like Iran has zero reason to trust the U.S. on any level, because why the fuck would they, dude? Why would they? We've gone back on every single promise we've ever made with Iran. I'm curious about this. Sorry, fuck you, Fox and Friends. I'm kind of bored with your bullshit.
Brazil, and we'll see what happens. And he came from way behind and he won. He's a great fighter. He's a great guy.
I can barely hear. Very humiliating for Iran so much that we had to bomb them. What? Oh yeah, dude. Like these, like it's just dumbass people. And then obviously Fox has to, bust out the nearly daily execution bit.
To Webster live for us in Tel Aviv. Ashley, thank you. Let's bring in Iranian-American former NFL player
Fuck, I just stabbed myself in the thumb.
Shar Pordanish and former Deputy National Security Advisor Steve Yates. Thank you both for coming on. Steve Yates, to you first. I want to play a little more sound. We had Ashley playing a little bit of the Secretary of State Marco Rubio with more on the soon expected Iranian response. Watch.
We're expecting a response from them. We'll see what the response entails. The hope is it's something that it can put us into a serious process of negotiation.
Have we heard anything back yet? Hold on. Reuters, have we heard anything? My fucking room door just closed. It scared the shit out of me. Nope.
Obviously, we've seen the reporting overnight that Iran has established or trying to establish some agency that's going to control traffic in the Straits. I think that's unacceptable.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have really two questions here, Steve. One, do we get the response tonight at some point in time? Is it early tomorrow morning? And do the Iranians agree, or at least, lead us far enough to think this thing goes back to the peace table?
Well, Trace, I don't have high hopes of the negotiating path. I support the idea of giving it a try. I really think it's about time for the president and team to focus on core missions. The Strait of Hormuz has to have.
Why are you watching the news? I'm a political streamer. What core missions are we talking about? Eliminating nuclear capabilities? Every country on Earth knows that Iran has 0 nuclear capabilities. So what's the mission here? Regime change? I thought we didn't want that. But I thought it already happened. Are we looking to just remove Iran from the Middle East, therefore creating a second Israel? That's what we want. This is all Israel's fault at the end of the day. The mission is oil hitting $5. True!
A flow of good.
I'm sure experience as an NFL player makes his opinion relevant on foreign policy. It does. It does make his opinion on foreign policy relevant because he hit his brain so much that he can communicate with Fox viewers.
Goods and traffic doesn't have to be only the United States.
This shit getting so bad at Switzerland shows aside.
States doing that. But I think it's pretty much time to degrade fundamentally the Iranian ability to use terror or these pinprick attacks to try to control the flow. And have the president kind of declare that major military operations are over and we're going to work with a coalition to maintain things and make sure the nuclear developments don't return. But I don't think that this sort of ongoing posture of endless negotiations is really accomplishing very much at this point.
We're the ones posturing this, by the way. Iran has not once said, hey, we're negotiating, and then say, actually, no, we're not. That is the U.S. saying that.
Meantime, we had a former senior sanctions
Hunter Biden
strategist on Iran's internet shutdown, which we have talked about a lot.
Yeah, nothing's coming out of Iran, by the way, because of the internet shutdown. Like, I pray for all my Iranian brothers and sisters.
They have an internet shutdown. That's somewhere between $50 to $65 million a day in economic damage. They shut down the internet because they're afraid of internal uprising. That is putting a lot of pressure on Iran's economy. I've seen reports of somewhere between 5 to 10 million Iranians relying on e-commerce employments and jobs, internet jobs. So those folks are unemployed right now.
Yeah, and they're kind of weighing a couple of things here, right? You got these tax crisis, you got the unemployment crisis, and
Iran does not give a fuck about their economy at this point. The entire country has rallied. Hey, thank you for the sub, Juno. You're concerned about the human rights in Iran. Meanwhile, we saw ally with Saudi Arabia. True. And Israel, man. Like, fuck. And the thing about it is, like, I guarantee, yes, the Iran war probably is awful for pretty much everybody in the country, but I guarantee they're more allied behind the U.S. or behind Iran at this point than the U.S. It would be very surprising if the Iranian people were more allied with the U.S. at this point.
And they're worried about, internal uprising, and so they're thinking, what do we do here, right?
Absolutely, and right now it's very difficult for us to gauge really what's going on in Iran, especially like they said with the internet shutdown. But
dude, let's listen to this former NFL football player.
Going back to what was said before, I think we putting the pressure on the Iranian government right now is of the utmost importance.
Yeah,
they're at a breaking point. The idea of
what a slug for salt, man. Are we are your savior's posture doesn't work when you bomb their schools on like day 3? Yeah, it stops working pretty quickly.
Of negotiating with them, I know I sound like a broken record, but who are we negotiating with? They're not negotiating from a place of good faith. And how do we know whatever we negotiate for, they're going to follow through and they're going to accept the common law of the world?
Yeah, I think the president has
common
also
law
that.
of
Who
the
are we
world.
negotiating with? He says, we were negotiating with someone one day and the next day they seem to forget all about it. General Jack Keane, kind of back to your point, Steve Yates, says that it's time for these two things to happen. Watch.
We should go back and execute Project Freedom, take the Strait of Hormuz away from the Iranians.
Why are you talking? Why are you alive? You look like you've been dead for 10 years.
Secure it and open it for navigation, and also at some point get some assistance in doing that. And then we have to unleash the Israelis. They have a very comprehensive bombing campaign.
We have to release the Israelis, dude. Release the attack dogs.
The Israelis have always had more air power in this fight than we've had. So what they can do comprehensively here in terms of air power is significant.
Yeah, I mean, they're talking about taking the strait and bombing key targets. It's kind of right in the wheelhouse you were just talking about, Steve.
Well, he's a smart guy, and I think General Keene's got it dialed in pretty correctly on this. And it's really, I think, very important for the president.
Take the Strait of Hormuz from Iran. What are we going to do with the drain? What are we going to do to drain the strait? Dude, like, I don't... It's so embarrassing being an American.
It is quite obvious. It is quite obvious that the Americans have absolutely no coherent strategy whatsoever. And the fundamental problem with these kinds of conflicts is always the same. It is not enough to simply get yourself in. You must also figure out how to get yourself out again. We witnessed that reality quite painfully in Afghanistan over the course of 20 long years. We saw the exact same thing happen in Iraq. So this entire situation is... as I have mentioned previously, at the very least it was ill-considered, and I really do not see at this present moment which one you mean. What strategic exit the Americans are choosing now, especially since the Iranians are obviously negotiating very skillfully, or for that matter, very skillfully not negotiating, and making the Americans travel to Islamabad and then letting them leave again empty-handed. A whole nation is being humiliated there.
He's right. He's right. He's right, chat. When he's right, he's right. It's such an it's so embarrassing to be a fucking American right now. Like, what am I even supposed to say at this point? We have a bunch of fucking idiots running our country, not truly negotiating with anybody throughout the world on any issue. And we just sit here looking like a bunch of morons. We even piss off the fucking Pope, man. It's his 1-year anniversary soon.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio, a practicing Catholic, met Pope Leo at the Vatican today. One of his goals, though the State Department did not explicitly say so, may have been to smooth over a series of disagreements between the Pope and President Trump. The president said as recently as Monday that the Pope believes it's acceptable for Iran to have a nuclear weapon, though the Pope and the Church itself have repeatedly said just the opposite. Tonight, on the eve of...
Yeah, the Pope doesn't want anybody to have nuclear weapons, including the U.S. But the U.S. would not like that. I love Pope Leo, man. I love Pope Leo.
Pope Leo marking 1 year since his election. Correspondent Melissa Don details her travels with the Pope during his long trip to Africa in April, and why the Pope and the Church itself in the past year have been so successful in finding new believers.
I'm trying to look at more Rubio stuff with the Pope. That's all I really care about. Here we go. This is what I was looking for.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio tonight greeting Pope Leo at the Vatican with a gift.
What to get someone who has everything?
Ah, what an American! Okay, Marco Rubio, you're a piece of shit. That's really funny, dude. Because Leo's such a fucking Bears fan, man. That's so funny. What's up, Hum? Can you switch from Twitch to TikTok because I can't play with TikTok in the background. You're good. While at work, you're good. Dude, that's hilarious, man. Dude, Americans, man, we give the best gifts to the Pope. We give the Pope Undertale and glass footballs.
Someone who has everything.
America's top diplomat now on a delicate mission to the first American pontiff.
Dude, he's mocking him! He's mocking the shit out of him!
After a frosty back and forth last month between President Trump and the Pope over Iran, after the Pope criticized the war, blaming it on a, quote, delusion of omnipotence.
He's a man that doesn't think that we should be toying with a country that wants a nuclear weapon so they can blow up the world. I'm not a fan of Pope Leo.
I have no fear of neither the Trump administration or speaking out loudly about the message of the gospel.
The Pope can say what he wants, and I want him to say what he wants, but I can disagree.
The Pope describing it all as a misunderstanding over his calls for peace, while also opposing all nuclear weapons.
It was looked at as if I was trying to debate, again, the president, which is not in my interest at all.
Dude, he holds a mic like a fucking, like, MC Escher, dude. This motherfucker has spit bars.
The president asked yesterday for his message for the Pope.
Whether I make him happy or I don't make him happy, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon.
In Italian, the pontiff responding that for years the church has spoken out against nuclear weapons. And his gift for Rubio today, a pen made from olive wood.
Olive being, of course, plant of peace.
And in another high-stakes meeting, Secretary Rubio meets with the Italian Prime...
Oh, that's fucking awesome, dude. What a... Hi, also regarding yesterday, I left because I thought you were banning me. As I left, I heard you thought I said I did not mean that platonic friends with women, but that every time I personally have heard you talk about women, you were referring to your previous partners. Dan, I decided not to ban you because you're not a bad person. You were just being a fucking idiot right then and there. I'll get to your chat message in a second, Dan. I'll read that in a minute. Oh, I love the Pope, man. The Pope like makes me so happy in my soul, and I'm an atheist who hates most like religious fundamentalists, but God, man, and most religious like ordinances, but he makes me happy. It makes me happy, and I was getting like, it's such an embarrassment to be an American, but I really hope we return to places like where Pope Leo's wanting us to go. I can't believe he mocked the fuck out of Rubio though. That's hilarious.